a modern villa, abandoned and completely swallowed by the surrounding landscape. Today, one crew begins the grueling process of cutting it back out. Nature reclaims neglected structures rapidly, breaking down concrete boundaries through root expansion and trapped moisture. Before any restoration can begin, on the house itself, the perimeter must be breached. The thicket is dense enough to require heavy machinery just to reach the front gate. Stagnant water and layered vines have created a heavy, humid microclimate that accelerates decay. The first step is simply finding where the property lines begin. He attacks the primary overgrowth with a chainsaw, severing the thickest woody stems. Hardwood brush cannot be managed with standard trimmers. The fibrous stalks will instantly tangle a line. Cutting near a brick wall introduces the risk of dangerous kickback if the chain strikes masonry. He keeps the blade angled parallel to the barrier, letting the saw's own weight pull it through the dense knots. Once the structural branches fall, the tangled canopy collapses with them. The yard slowly begins to open up. Clearing heavy brush is a two-part equation of cutting and immediate removal. Leaving debris on the ground creates a tripping hazard and blocks access to the lower root systems. The worker drags the felled material away from the work zone to maintain a clear line of sight. Removing this top layer exposes the compacted soil beneath, which hasn't seen direct sunlight in months. Moisture trapped at the surface can now finally begin to evaporate. The ground breathes again. He switches to a straight shaft brush cutter to handle the secondary layer of weeds. The high-speed rotation pulverizes softer plant matter on contact, shredding it into a fine mulch. Working against the foundation requires a lighter touch to avoid scarring the masonry. He tilts the cutting head slightly, using just the outer tip of the line to shear the grass flush against the brick. Clean edges instantly define the space. Gathering the shredded debris is crucial to prevent it from matting over the soil and blocking drainage. A standard leaf rake pulls the lightweight clippings without digging into the earth. They bundle the waste into a heavy-duty tarp. This simple method means the most efficient way to haul large volumes of uncompressed biomass. Near the established trees, the root systems require a manual approach. He uses a long-handled hoe to scrape the topsoil, severing the weed roots just below the surface. This technique prevents the deep soil disturbance that might damage the tree's feeder roots. Scraping, rather than digging, also keeps dormant weed seeds buried safely underground. The accumulated organic matter is swept away, revealing the original grade of the yard. thick climbing vines are pulled by hand from the concrete walls. If left unchecked, these creeping tendrils secrete weak acids that slowly dissolve mortar and pit the surface. Ripping them down removes the moisture-trapping blanket they form against the structure. Along the glass doors, the string trimmer is kept at a low throttle. High speeds can throw small rocks or hard seed pods with enough force to shatter the panes. The clearing effort moves to the hardscaping elements. Circular stone planters often act as moisture sinks, encouraging dense weed clusters around their bases. The trimmer line easily cuts through the soft stems, exposing the stonework's original boundary. Navigating around these curved obstacles requires continuous adjustment of the trimmer's angle to maintain an even cut height. The workers push down the perimeter line, stripping away years of unchecked growth. Every foot of cleared brickwork reestablishes the yard's intended geometry. The property's bones are finally showing through the overgrowth. A leaf blower generates high-velocity airstreams to scour fine dust and loose clippings from the porous concrete. Clearing the hard surfaces early prevents the decaying plant matter from staining the stone under the humid conditions. It also reveals the actual scale of the patio sharply, separating the livable space from the remaining wild sectors. The back half of the property still holds a massive volume of dense brush. After the final heavy clearing passes, the remaining loose vegetation is raked into piles. The sheer volume of organic material generated from a property this size is immense. Dragging it across the yard in smaller loads would waste crucial daylight and energy. Instead, they center the bulk on the heavy transport tarp, folding the corners inward to create a secure bundle. Moving bulk weight efficiently relies entirely on reducing friction. The slick synthetic material of the tarp glides smoothly over the remaining cut grass, saving hours of exhausting manual hauling. Thick perimeter shrubs are pruned aggressively, cutting deep into the old wood. Overgrown bushes often hollow out in the center, focusing all their energy on exterior leaf production to compete for light. Slashing them back forces the plant to regenerate from the interior nodes, eventually creating a denser, healthier privacy screen. The massive branch bundles are hauled away to clear the perimeter path. The crew turns their attention to the swimming pool, the most degraded element of the property. They trim the surrounding grass tight to the concrete coping. Without this barrier, heavy rains would wash topsoil and organic matter directly into the basin. The pool itself is heavily compromised, choked with thick mats of floating algae and sunken palm fronds. Stagnant water like this becomes a rapid breeding ground for mosquitoes and accelerates the breakdown of the plaster lining. He uses a long-handled rake to physically drag the heavy, waterlogged biomass over the edge. Chemical treatments are useless until this physical bulk is removed. The thick algae blooms act as an insulating blanket, trapping heat and blocking natural evaporation. Pulling it out by hand is heavy, foul work, but it is the only way to expose the raw water beneath. The transformation of the yard depends on neutralizing this central hazard. Detailed landscaping around the pool equipment requires precision. High-speed trimmer line can easily sever low-voltage lighting wires or gouge PVC filtration pipes if the operator loses focus. He threads the cutting head carefully around the black filtration tank and landscape lights. The Tocket, using short, controlled bursts of the throttle. Weeds growing against these utility lines often trap corrosive moisture against metal fittings and harbor rodents. Eliminating this vegetation protects the mechanical systems that will eventually bring the pool back to life. The concrete walkway is finally freed from the creeping grass, restoring a clean walking path around the water's edge. The final trimming passes focus on creating a sharp border between the lawn and the hardscape. The worker swings the trimmer in wide, rhythmic arcs, letting the tool's momentum do the heavy cutting. Maintaining a level cut across a large expanse without a mower requires immense core stability and strict control of the cutting height. Even a slight dip of the head will scalp the grass down to the dirt. By matching the height of the newly cleared sections to the older cuts, the lawn begins to look like a cohesive unit rather than a patched-together work site. The brick perimeter wall, once hidden behind walls of thorn and vine, now defines a clear, secure boundary. The sheer scale of the space is finally visible. What was a claustrophobic thicket of tangled branches is now an open, breathable landscape. The heavy lifting is done. final sweep with the leaf blower drives the last scattered dust and clippings off the patio. The compressed airstream reaches into the mortar joints and porous stone, lifting debris that a broom would only push around. The grounds are clean. Walking the property now reveals the true structure of the landscape. The circular pool, though still holding stagnant water, is no longer a hidden hazard, but a defined architectural feature waiting for restoration. The clean, paved patio extends seamlessly into the newly leveled lawn. Removing the suffocating layer of undergrowth has fundamentally altered the microclimate of the yard. Air now flows freely across the grass, and sunlight reaches the soil. It is a stark reset from the wild jungle that existed just hours before. The foundational geometry of the space has been entirely reclaimed. From the back wall, the modern glass architecture of the house stands in sharp contrast to the natural boundaries of the yard. The clean lines of the building are no longer swallowed by creeping vines. Every square foot of cleared ground adds perceived value and space to the property. The house and its environment are back in balance, no longer fighting a losing battle against the encroaching wild. Inside, the home remains an empty shell, but the atmosphere has shifted. From the upper balcony, the view out over the manicured yard changes the entire context of the living space. A structure cannot function independently of the land it sits on. Neglect outside always works its way indoors, through moisture, pests, and rot. By stripping back the overgrowth and restoring the property lines, this house has been given a second chance. What was a lost ruin is a blank canvas again, stabilized, cleared, and ready for whatever comes next.